Hi, Kathy here from Kathy's Cute Creations. Today we're going to be working on block 3. I have changed up a little bit. The last two times that I was explaining the directions, I was going row by row. I relisted the thing, so hopefully I've copied the directions correctly. But we're going to be doing the tree this time. That's it there. And then what I did for this one, to get an idea with my fabrics, I'm going to show you here on the table how I've laid out my fabrics, so I have an idea what the tree colors are going to look like. So the top of the tree, and I've got the little one done here. So this is the top part here, and then that's going to be the top. So I'm just kind of looking at this color right here. Then when I come down, I'm looking at this one, which is the middle one, and these two sides. So I put that fabric up underneath there. And then the next one, let me move this up here. So this one here is this row here with the green and the two. And I thought I'd like to offset that orange because it looked kind of weird when I just laid the orange and had only orange going across the bottom. And then I think because this fabric has black in it instead of brown down in here, I went ahead and I used the black for the bottom instead of the brown like this. So for the background, I'm using white again, the same fabric I was using before. We're going to need 3 fabrics with the background 5 inches. 2 are going to be 3 by 4 inches. 2 are going to be 1.5 by 4 inches. And then this is 2 1/4 by 5 3/4, and we need 2 of them. Then when we come down to our colors, we're going to need 3 different colors. The first, second, third row, these are 5 inches. The middle row is going to have that solid color between the 2 half square triangles, and it's a 4-inch square. And then the very bottom row that has the longest rectangle is a 4 by 5.5 inch. And then this is our stem, which I have at 2 1/4 by 2 inches. So we're going to go ahead and get it started. So now you need to get your friction pin out because we're going to make the half square triangles. And I take my fabric with the color, which in this case is going to be the green. And I'm going to mark it first. And I do dashes from corner to corner because that's going to be my cutting line. And then I will draw my straight solid line on each side. This is going to be plenty of fabric for you if you've just tuned in and you're only seeing this block for the first time. This is going to be enough to make your half square triangle if you're new and you're not used to it. My granddaughter said that I was given too much information the last time when I was trying to explain the 3-inch versus the 3.5. She said do the bigger one. It's easier. So that's what I'm doing. You can mark all yours. And if you make a mistake and you're using a friction pin, go over to the ironing board, iron it. The pin mark will disappear, and then you can remark it. For those that haven't used a friction pin, and I've never erased with this one, but this is an erasable one. Now what you do is you take your fabrics and you're going to do right sides together. I always put a pin just to hold it into place so that it doesn't move. Just like that, that's it. Once you get started on it, you'll be fine. Go ahead and pin all yours. We're going to chain stitch these. I have a 12-inch needle, 2.5-inch stitch length. And we're going on the line, so we're not going at the tip, so we should not have to worry about it, your sewing machine bed eating it up or anything, because you're off to the side. If you've all got a knee lift with your machines, go ahead and use them if you like. Makes it a lot faster. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut these apart, and we're going to cut them before we iron them open. If you prepare to cut these with your scissors, you can. It doesn't make a difference. You're just cutting them in half. Whoops. I didn't press down hard enough here at the tip. There we go. Now be sure and set your seams when you open them. So we're going to cut these down to 4-inch squares. And I have a rotary mat here for convenience. I always put my little doggy tail, whatever they want to call it here, off to the top right hand side. And the first thing that I do, no matter what size block I end up with, I always take off the least amount first. So I just take off a little bit, and it's sort of like straightening it up. Then when I'm done with that, to do the other side, that's when I'm going to make it the correct size. So this is a 4-inch block. So you make sure your line goes straight down to split the fabric in half. And then you've got 4 inches here and 4 inches here, and they meet. And then you take off the excess. Just like that. And then you have a 4-inch block. And the 4-inch block that we cut out, which is the middle one, should fit over it, which it does, just like that, if you want to check your measurement. Okay? Go ahead, cut all the rest of these out. Oops. And then we're going to put this block together. So I went ahead and I laid it out the way that I want to sew it together. So I took my first set of light colored. This is what I did. I went from light to dark on my tree. The light half square triangles up at the top and made it pointed. And then your two, one on each side, 3 by 4 inch triangle. Then when you build this one, your 4-inch square goes in the middle. A piece of your half square triangle goes on each side. That's my lighter green. And then this will have these little bitty pieces here. They were the ones that were 1.5 inches by 4 inch high. And then the next one was where I told you about the rectangle there. So that looks pretty good. That kind of matches the green here, but it's still a little bit darker. And then this matches that because that's darker, but it also matches that orange. Down here is your little stump. And then you have your 2 1/4 by 5 3/4 inch. Now, if you put it together, because you know everybody's little 1/4 inch is off a hair bit, but if you put it together and it's a little bit too big, don't worry about it. We can cut it down a little bit. That's how we're going to sew it. We're going to do it in rows. So the first thing I'm going to sew together is this set of half square triangles here, and then I'll put each side on. We'll have one row down, we'll set it down, then we'll do the next one until we've got all 4 rows, and then we can just connect all them. So let's do that. When you attach these two with your pins, you want to nestle these, so if they're going the same direction when you iron them open, just go over there and iron one of them so that it can go the other direction, because you want these to be going opposite directions so that when you put them together, they line up really well. Otherwise, you're going to have them all on one side, and it's going to be a lot of bulk that you're going to have to sew through. So make sure you do that. Now for this thick right here at the very beginning, if you need a leader in there, by all means get you one. I'm using a 2.5 inch stitch length, 12-inch needle, and I'm using that same cream color thread that I've been using the entire project. All these blocks are all the same color. I'm not mixing and matching any of them. You do not need to iron this if you don't want to, but take a look at your tip and make sure your tip is okay when you put it together. So the tip should look like this. Let me back up a bit. The tip should look like that. Now we're going to put our corners. I'm calling them the corners. They're actually the other piece of fabric. And I'm going to use 2 pins on it to hold it together. And make sure that, and I'm going to show you here with this pin. Hold on one second. On the back here, when it got sewn, it went upwards. So when I pin it on this side, I want to make sure I pin that to hold it down so that when the needle comes, it grabs a hold of it and doesn't flip it on me. And the same thing with the other side when you're pinning it. I have pinned both sides, and you can pin them on either side. It doesn't make a difference if they've got to be flipped over for you because you want to see where the seams are at. That's okay. I mean, it's going to still come together correctly, whether you do it upside down or not. Okay, now is when we're going to iron it. And this is the piece that you can either iron it inward or outward. It doesn't make a difference. The next piece is the one that's going to make a difference. So let me go ahead and iron this. I went ahead and I pinned both sides to this square. That's my half square triangles I connected. If you can't do that, then just do one at a time. And if you need to mark these 1/4 inch, then go ahead and mark them 1/4 inch with whatever tool that you use. Now we're going to take our ends. I'm going to pin them. Let's go ahead and do this row. It's only got the 2 half square triangles and the rectangle on it. I got both sides pinned again. Now we're going to do the very bottom, and I'm not even going to pin it. I'm laying my stem on my white fabric, and you're putting right sides together. I use the short little fabric, which is the black piece, to go upward. I'm going to do the same thing this time around. I have not ironed it. Now I'm going to iron it with my seams towards each other. You should have all 4 like that. Every row has been connected. So let's see if we can put them together. So see, I can't even copy. This little square was not 1 1/2, it was 1 1/4. See, it came out in the first tree when I made it. It just didn't work in a second. So let's go ahead and put the first 2 rows together. I'm going to pin the first 2, and then I'm going to pin the 3rd and the 4th one together. I'm going to pin this. I'm going to go from one end to the other because there's no seams matching. And then I'm going to come in on the left, put a pin in, come over to the right, put a pin in, and they're going where the seams are at. Because I want to hold them down so that when they go across that sewing machine, it doesn't grab them. I had to open this seam because it did not want to go to the left nor the right, and it had too much bulk on it. So it's going to get 2 pins right next to each other. And then here's one on the back side here. And that should do it. So here we go. And you can do your pinning on either side. And if you want to sew on this side, you can sew on this side. It's just that I feel like there's more seams and things to be looking for on this side. So that's why I'm doing that. All right, so that one's pinned. Now we're going to pin this one. And it doesn't have anything to be matching either. And I'm going to sew it on this side because I've got my half square triangle bulk. And I want to make sure that this stays down when I when I sew. So I grab it right in here where I know that I feel it. And then what I'm going to do to keep this straight, because I don't want this to get distorted. It looks like it already distorted on me here. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to put a pin straight up here so it keeps the block straight. And then repin right here. There we go. Then I'll go down to this first one here, and I might end up putting a pin on this half square triangle. Again, another one. But let's go down to the end. You want to make sure that now this is how a lot of distortion happens. When you're pinning down here, I'm pinning on this side here, keep in mind. But the fabric needs to be lined up against here. If your fabric is going like this, it's not going to straighten itself out when you get done sewing it. It's already going to be crooked. It can't be fixed. So if you feel that you need to put a pin in here, and sometimes I do it, I put a pin here. That means it's holding it on this end. Then I go over here and pin it. I need to go at an angle here. As I stick it into myself. And then down here to the seam. And then these two little middle seams here. And remember, you want to go, when you're looking at your fabric like that, you want to go at an angle. Because if you don't go at an angle, remember, it pulls your fabric. I'll show you right here in the middle of this one. Okay, so your fabric is matched up. And if you go like this, and then you turn to go like that, you've made the white of your fabric. Your top fabric has come over the top of your back fabric. You don't want that. You want the fabrics to stay flat. So then come at an angle. And they do stay flat when you go at an angle. I'm going to put another one in here. I'll show you again. All right, so if you took your pin and went straight down and went over to stick it in, because that's the way you do it. Now your fabric, let's turn it over for you here. I mean, it's a minuscule amount, just that teeny weeny little bit right there. But eventually, the entire size gets off. You're probably thinking, well, that's not really important. But when you add up all those little bitty things that are different when you're making something, it does count for something. It does change the measurements. Now we're just chain stitching these. We've got 2 of them. And I'll pull that out right before I get to it. And we'll go ahead and we'll iron these. Well, I wondered if I was going to have to use my seam ripper this time, and sure enough, I just got done with that. And it was wrong side to right side. So I had to take it all out and redo it. I didn't even realize it till I went to iron it, and that's when I noticed it. That's okay. Things happen. That's the way it goes. That's all right. Now I'll go iron it, and it is correct. Okay, now we got these two pinned. So let's get them sewn. I was already doing my practice last block this morning. I worked on it some yesterday. I wasn't happy with it. I had my granddaughter come up here and I asked her if she could tell me what it was. Well, it wasn't what I thought. It wasn't what it was supposed to be. So anyway, I said, okay, well, in that case, I can't make that block because it's not even what I want it to be. So then she and I did a little brainstorming. And she goes, well, I kind of like blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, y'all. So I said, oh my gosh. Now here's the hint. So first off, when I started this thing and I talked about it and I got my fabric, I think it was in the video that I showed the fabric line and everything. I made a comment it was not going to be something specific. And so if you can remember what that was, that's what the last block ended up being. After the block that I tried to make did not turn out the way I liked. It was too much extra space in it, I guess you could say. I don't know how to explain it, but let me go ahead and get this on. Here's our block completed. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you have not subscribed, subscribe, click the bell. The bell will give you notifications that I have put up another video. Give it a thumbs up, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it and learned something. I've learned something from each one of these blocks that I've made. I've never seen this one quite put together like this, but I did like the design on it. So take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.